All right, Algebra 1. So we are pretty much done with just the factoring part. So that will be finished just where we're factoring. I do want to remind you of a few things. Please check your work submissions and your emails. I have been emailing kids. I have been commenting on work that you submitted, letting you know mistakes, asking you questions in your emails, and a lot of you all are not responding. You all need to check on that, please. Once again, no math app. A lot of you all, not a lot of you all, but about 7 of us are using the math app still. And if you're using math app, I'm not giving you points. Okay, it is extremely obvious who is using it. So please stop. Because when we get to Algebra 2 next year, if you don't know how to factor, you're going to be way behind the other kids. Also, period 1. One of you all have done the homework and passed it around to 4 or 5 other kids. I noticed that because whoever did it first, somebody thought that their 2 was it was a 3 was an 8. So I know who copied because then there was 4 other kids that had an 8 where it was supposed to be a 3. So please don't copy. You're just going to hurt yourself next year in Algebra 2. Make sure you're signing in on discussion. I have to have you sign in on discussion so that I count you for attendance, okay? All right, so today we're going to talk about solving by factoring. So when we solve by factoring, this is one way to figure out what x is equal to, okay? So when we are solving, we're actually going to solve for x. There are multiple ways to do this. The first way, which is the most used way, is to solve by factoring. So when we were factoring, we were just figuring out what was in the parentheses. So this would have been our answer. These are factors, okay? But what we're going to do now is we're actually going to figure out what x is equal to by solving these factors, okay? And these are called solutions. So when we find what x is equal to, they're called solutions. They're called zeros. They're called, what else? The answers. Basically anything that means solution. So answers, zeros. Oh, roots. That's the other word I was looking for. Roots. So if they ask you what the zeros are, the roots are, the solutions are, that's when you're actually going to take the factoring and actually solve them for x. Now, in order to be able to solve them for x, you have to use something called the zero. I guess I erased that factoring part. So when we solve, it's the zero product property, which basically says that if you have a quadratic, so ax squared plus bx plus c, and it's equal to 0, then the factors that you get are also equal to 0. So we're going to make sure that it's equal to 0. We're going to factor that, and then we're going to set our factors equal to 0. So if you're a procedural person like me, these are the steps that you would follow. Okay, so if you need to jot these down, I jot them down. So first, make it equal 0. Step 2 is going to be to factor. Step 3 is going to be to set each factor equal to 0. And step 4 is going to be to solve for x. So I would jot those down if you're somebody that looks at your notes, but remember you can watch this video as many times as you want, okay? So make sure that you are following these steps, and this is for solving. Solving is different than factoring. Factoring, you're just finding what's in the parentheses and stopping. But when you are solving, that means you're actually solving it for x, okay? All right, so let's look at our first one. All right. So our first one, we'll say solve by factoring. All right. So 3x squared plus 20x plus 12 equals 0. All right, so remember I said the first thing you have to do is make sure that it's equal to 0. It's equal to 0, so we're good to go. Step 2 is to factor. So now I'm going to factor this quadratic right here. Okay, so it does have an a term, so I'm going to have to multiply a times c. I'm going to slide 3 times 12. So 3 times 12 is 36. So I'm multiplying to 36, but adding to 20. So numbers that multiply to 36. 1 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 12, 4 and 9, 6 and 6. So you got to figure out which one adds to 20. So 2 and 18. So x plus 2, x plus 18. But this had an a term. So don't forget, slide, divide by a. So now I'm going to divide by 3. And then bottoms up. So 2 divided by 3 can't reduce. So bottoms up. So that's 3x plus 2. And 18 divided by 3 is 6. So step 1, make sure it's equal to 0. Step 2, factor it. Step 3, set each factor equal to 0. So I'm going to take 3x plus 2 equals 0. And I'm going to take x plus 6 equals 0. And I'm going to erase this. Okay. So that's step 3, set each factor equal to 0. And now I'm going to solve these for x. You solve them just like you would a regular 2-step equation. So subtract 2. So 3x equals negative 2. Divide by 3. And negative 2 divided by 3 is not a whole number. It's a repeating decimal. So I'm going to leave it as negative 2/3. Over here, subtract 6. So x equals negative 6. And I'm done. Set equal to 0. Factor. Set each factor equal to 0 and then solve for x. All right, we're going to do another one. All right, so this one we'll say find the roots. All right, so finding the roots is just like solving, okay? Okay, so I'm going to solve this. Guess we'll make this number 2. All right, so this one, it's equal to 0, which is good, okay? So step 2 says to factor it. So I'm going to factor this. Look, no a term, which means that we're back to some easy factoring because these are going to be mixed in as well. So I just asked myself, what 2 numbers multiply to 10 but add to 7? And they're same sign, both positive. So 2 numbers that multiply to 10, 1 times 10 or 2 times 5. Which one of them would add to 7? 2 and 5. So x plus 2 and x plus 5. Now, since this one didn't have an a, I don't have to divide by a, and there's no bottoms up there. So now, after I factor it, now I set each factor equal to 0. So x plus 2 equals 0, x plus 5 equals 0. And then the last step is to solve for x. So subtract 2. So x equals negative 2. Subtract 5. And x equals negative 5. And these are the roots. These are the solutions. These are the answers. Okay? All right, another one. All right, so let's do... All right, so 3x squared minus 5x minus 12 equals 0. So step 1, make sure it's equal to 0. Check. Step 2, factor it. Now this one has an a, so I'm going to have to slide. So 3 times negative 12, and it's negative, so different signs. So 3 times negative 12 is negative 36. So I'm multiplying to negative 36, but adding to negative 5. So numbers that multiply to negative 36 and add to negative 5, we're going to start with different signs because it's different signs there. The bigger one's going to be negative. So 1 and negative 36, 2 and negative 18, 3 and negative 12, 4 and negative 9, 6 and negative 6. Which set of those adds to negative 5? 4 and negative 9. So x plus 4, x minus 9. After I find my 2 numbers, I slide, divide by a. So divide by 3. Okay, 4 divided by 3, not a whole number. 4 divided by 3 does not reduce, so I'm going to bottoms up. So that's 3x plus 4. Negative 9 divided by 3 is negative 3. So that's step 2, factor. And this is what we've been doing for the last week and a half, is this right here. So hopefully we're getting pretty good at that. And here's where the new part comes in. After I factor, now I set each of those factors equal to 0. So 3x plus 4 equals 0, x minus 3 equals 0, and then solve for x. So I'm going to subtract 4. So 3x equals negative 4, divide by 3, and x equals negative 4/3. So there's one of my answers. And then over here, add 3, and x equals 3. Now, remember, see how this is an x squared? That means that there's going to be two answers. And we kind of talked about this when we started quadratics. Squared means I don't have two answers, 1, 2. And that's what it does have. All right, I'm going to write another one up here, and I want you to try it. Okay, so let's do... All right, so go ahead and pause me right here, work it out, and then repause, or then unpause me, I guess. All right, so same sign. It does have an A, so slide. So 6 times 3 is 18. So I'm multiplying to 18, but I'm adding to 11. So 1 and 18, because they're same sign, both positive. 2 and 9, 3 and 6, and that's it. The one that adds to 11, 2 and 9. So x plus 2, x plus 9. All right, so now that I slide, now I'm going to divide by A. So divide by 6. Now, this one does reduce, both of them actually. 2 6 reduces to 1/3, so I'm going to bottoms up that 3. 9 6 reduces to 3/2, so I'm going to bottoms up that 2. And I'm factored. So now that I've factored, let's set each of those factors equal to 0. Hopefully I'm having enough room here. And solve. So subtract 1. Divide by 3. So x equals negative 1/3. Subtract 3. Divide by 2. And x equals negative 3/2. All right. Let's do one more and let you do it, and then we'll go from there. All right, so this one, instead of saying find the roots, it's going to say find the zeros. All right, so remember, zeros, roots, solutions, all are meaning the exact same thing. Okay, let's do this one. All right, pause me here and go for it. All right, so different signs on this one, okay? So it does have an A, so I'm going to slide. 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. So I'm multiplying to negative 10, but adding to negative 3. So numbers that multiply to negative 10, but bigger ones negative. 1 and negative 10, 2 and negative 5. And those are the only numbers that multiply to negative 10. Which one of them adds to negative 3? 2 and negative 5. So x plus 2 and x minus 5. And then divide by A. So 2 divided by 2, that's 1. Negative 5 divided by 2 doesn't reduce, so I'm going to bottoms up that 2. So that's 2x minus 5 equals 0. And then set each of those equal to 0 and solve. So I'm going to subtract 1. I'm going to add 5. And I'm going to divide by 2. So x equals negative 1 and 5 over 2, or 2.5 would be okay. The only ones that you shouldn't make a decimal are the ones that are repeating. Remember, those need to be left as a improper or proper fraction. All right, let's do this one. Let's do x squared. X squared minus 7x plus 10. All right, pause me here, go for it, and then unpause me. All right, so same sign. Both of them are negative here. So numbers that multiply to 10, but add to negative 7. And there's no A there, so we're good. So -1 and -10, -2 and -5. Hi, Emmett. All right, so can you tell the kids hi that you just woke up from a snooze? All right, so you should have chose -2 and -5. So x minus 2 and x minus 5. And no a term there, so you don't have to divide by a. All right, so it's factored. So now let's set each factor equal to 0 and solve. So add 2, so x equals 2. Add 5, and x equals 5. Now, a lot of you all are probably thinking, am I able to check these? You are able to check these by plugging it in the original problem. So you're okay. So if I wanted to check my answer, I'd take 2 and plug it in for both of the x's. So 2 squared is 4. 7 times 2 is 14. So 4 minus 14 is -10, and -10 plus 10 is 0. Plug in 5. 5 squared is 25. 7 times 5 is 35. 25 minus 35 is -10, and -10 plus 10 is 0. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop there. I want you all to go ahead and go to the discussion question, okay? The discussion question is gonna say, what did you like about the video? What are some things that you understood? What are some things that you did not understand? And let me know if you have any questions about this video. And that's our only homework for tonight, is to make sure that you answer that discussion question. It is points, so make sure you answer all the questions that are in that discussion. Tomorrow we'll do another video with whatever we need to see, and then we'll actually have some homework problems to complete tomorrow, okay? So let me know if you need any help. If you all have said that you still need help with factoring, I've emailed you. I've tried to set up Zoom calls, but I'm not getting anything back from a few of you all. So make sure that you are reading your emails. All right, I'll see y'all tomorrow.